Welcome back to the Coruscant Nights podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cooper. Joining me, as always, is Jack.
Hello, everyone.
Jack, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the most recent 5 or 4 episodes of The Bad Batch, and I think these are probably the strongest that we've had so far in the season. So very
Absolutely,
exciting.
absolutely. It'll be a good discussion. We're going to discuss what we thought about it and kind of where we think the last four episodes are going to go because we're coming up to the series finale in just a couple of weeks, which will be exciting but also very sad because we don't know the fate of these characters. If you aren't
Mm,
already, go follow us at Coruscant Nights on our social medias. And also, our Patreon is free. There'll be a QR code somewhere on the screen here. Follow that QR code to our Patreon, and you'll get some exclusive videos and some early uploads of some of our videos, as well as some sneak peeks of some projects. Just,
yes,
go check it out. Go check it out. It's free. And yeah, very good. All right. Bad Batch, season three, episode eight was called
yes.
Bad Territory. I
Mm,
would like to speak about this episode first, if
yeah,
that's all right.
yeah.
So I must mention that I hold a lot of bias towards this episode because it has Fennec Shand in it, and Fennec Shand is one of my all-time favorite characters in Star Wars. She's just changed the bounty hunting landscape for me in terms of what's come in the Disney era. So I really like her for that. Um, And she works really well in this episode. She's kind of not as we see her in Boba Fett or Mando. She's very selfish and
Mm,
not necessarily desiring to work alongside someone. She's just very stoic and knows what she wants. So in the sense that she's only going to give out information if, you know, people help her with a bounty. And even then, the information she gives is very limited. But,
mm.
or she doesn't even give any information now that I think
Nah,
about
she
it. She
says I'll
just
let you know.
says, no, I'll let you know. Yeah. So that sort of personal characteristics that we didn't really get to see a whole lot of in Book of Boba Fett and Mando, we're getting awesome, awesome character development of that in this show.
Mm,
And I know this is only the second time we've seen it in the Bad Batch. I don't think we saw it in Clone Wars, but I just think Ming-Na Wen's done such a fantastic job over the two appearances she's been in. It's really awesome. And to be fair, I feel like it makes sense that she has connections with Asajj. I feel like the bounty hunting all of the bounty
yeah.
hunters kind of have connections with each other, so that makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I
Yep.
loved this episode. I think I said it was one of my favorites of the season,
Yeah.
just because Fennec Shan's presence is really good, and getting to see Hunter and Wrecker kind of work together again was good, and
Yep.
they kind of come together to work against a common enemy, I suppose, being that praying mantis bounty hunter.
Yeah. Well, look, yeah, I do agree with you. I think this is one of the stronger episodes of the season. I don't know if it's for exactly the same reasons, because in my opinion, I thought Fennec was, yeah, it was cool to see her again, but I feel like I know how the whole point is that she wanted someone else to do the work for her, but she was so like almost useless in the fact that she literally did nothing. And then when she came down with the praying mantis man, she got like smacked and then didn't do anything again. So I'm like, doesn't really show strength. Like, she was acting all strong at the start, like I'm the leader here, gonna take the crew here, and then she just doesn't do anything, like
Th-
at all,
That's the
like
point. It's
nothing.
like she
I know,
was the
but like,
most.
but the thing is though, like with Boba Fett, even when he's getting other people to do his dirty work, he will still come in and even just like clean up. But like, she didn't even properly clean up. She was like it was like really bad. I was like, ooh. I was like, I don't know if I like that. Fennec doesn't look that strong in my opinion, but she looks, in my opinion, she still looked more fearful and better in Boba Fett. I thought she was the strongest one in that show, for
Okay,
sure. She did actually all the work for Boba Fett, and
that's
but
true.
Boba Fett still even gave me a bit more of a like a presence, but here she didn't do anything for me at all, to be honest. But I really, really enjoyed the praying mantis looking bounty that they're going for, and he
Mm.
actually looked pretty deadly. So I actually really liked everything with that. The animation of the swamp, amazing.
Yeah.
Even the alligator fight, sick as. I really liked everything to do with this episode. People will call it filler. I mean, I don't really care because fillers are fine if they're just entertaining still. The whole point is that we want to be entertained. We don't want to sit here and watch nothing happen for the sake of nothing happening, right? There was still somewhat sort of progression to get information, which is a classic trope of Star Wars. So if you're going to complain about it this time, why not complaining about it every other time?
Yeah.
Because it happens in everything, games and all. So I really did enjoy this episode. I don't know if I agree for the same reasons as Fennec because I thought she was kind of bad, but I love Fennec still. But that's why maybe I just had a higher expectation of her. Like I know she wanted to be more of a leader in this sense, but she didn't even cut out really for me for that, to be honest. But
Fair enough.
yeah, good progression, and then teased us with Ahsoka. I mean Ahsoka, Asajj. Everyone, oh, too many A's. Um, Definitely think everyone knew it was Asajj because of the trailer and because they didn't show who it was exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of got that one, but very exciting for the next one, especially too.
Yeah.
Yep.
We also had in this episode a subplot with Omega and Crosshair kind of doing meditation. And
Oh yeah.
I've been really interested to see the progression of, and this is going to sound so weird, but it makes complete sense. I've enjoyed seeing the progression of Crosshair's hand throughout the season. Like they focused on it quite a bit, being trembling, and then
Yeah.
kind of in this episode specifically, he kind of got to work on it a bit because
He
Omega
kept it
taught him
still
to
a little.
meditate. But
Mm.
we do find out that it all counts for nothing in the next couple episodes, but
Yep.
we'll get to that in a minute. But
Mm.
overall, yeah, this was a really good episode in my opinion.
100%.
Episode 9, the
Mm.
Harbinger, I think it was. Yeah,
Har Harbinger. Yeah.
Harbinger. Yeah. So this was the Asajj episode. So Jack, do you want to speak to that first?
Yeah. Look, I think before we got to the 10 and 11, I think this was the strongest one in my opinion for the season, even more obviously than the previous one. I really enjoyed seeing Asajj again. I am one of those fans who was a bit skeptical of having him back because like once the character kind of dies, no matter if it's a book or not, you just kind of like are very hesitant for them to come back in because it seems like nowadays a lot of people like to retcon deaths and everything, especially with Palps being the main one I think of the Star Wars fans. But I did enjoy the way she was portrayed as like, oh, can we still like as an audience, you were like, oh, is she like full evil? Like when she was in that cave with Omega at the start, you're like, oh, is she just gonna like, try and interrogate her or like figure out something? But no, she was just, she just hand walked with her to the Bad Batch. So I was like, oh, that's neat, that's neat. So she isn't like who she was, and you know that just from that one little scene. And the hair on her. I know she does have hair, obviously, from the book, but I don't know if I really liked it in the animation style, to be honest. It was a bit Karen-esque, especially when they're
Wow.
in the water, especially when they're in the water and she had that mohawk. I was like, I don't know about that, champ. But I enjoyed seeing how the Bad Batch interacted with Asajj more than Asajj with Omega, because I'm kind of sick of seeing like the training sequences. But it was cool seeing it from Asajj's perspective, someone who was a dark side kind of wielder, but then obviously learnt a lot from Quinlan Voss and stuff in the Jedi ways type of area. Um, okay, my main criticism I think about this episode, though, however, was another fish creature, like another creature. Just in every single episode of the Bad Batch, it feels like there'll be an episode, like there'll be some sort of creature that we've never seen before, and it doesn't really do anything. It just creates a little bit of oh no, what's gonna happen? Like I get the point of it, but I'm kind of sick of seeing big creatures now. Like, just can we move beyond a threat that's not a big creature? But
Yeah.
that's okay. Um, really enjoyed the fight scenes and Crosshair and everything when Crosshair got the weapons back to the Bad Batch and the music note played for the theme was a really nice touching kind of bit like they're united together even though they have absolutely no chance at all against the Sarge. So it was really cool episode. I don't really know. I wasn't really expecting this type of episode with it. Like I don't know. It felt very weirdly kind of just in there, and then especially to how we see what happens in the following episodes, it does feel really just placed in there. Now that you look at it, it's like oh yeah, this is just in here for the sake of being in here, and don't know if I like that, but I feel like that's probably my gripe with most of the Bad Batch episodes. I feel like they're just there rather than like one whole thing. Like I feel like you could almost watch the first episode and then the last and be like, yep, that makes sense of each season and be like, yeah, okay, I get what's happening. You know what I mean? Like I feel like everything in between is just happening, literally just for happening. But
Okay.
yeah, that's my opinion of it.
All right. So I know you're going to agree with me on this, and this was my main issue with this episode.
Mm.
The whole point of bringing a Sarge in was to discuss and find out what M count
M count
means.
means,
The
yeah,
thing is, we as the audience already know what M count means.
years,
So we are
years
watching characters figure it out, but we're not that invested because we already know what it is. There's no intrigue as
mystery.
to what M count is because we know what it is. So
Yep, yep.
And like, it's not like they had an over the top reaction. Mega didn't look force sensitive in the slightest, so it wasn't like there was any sort of
Nah.
payoff for it. Like,
It's
they didn't
funny
even
seeing her
do
reaction though. It was funny seeing Amiga's
my
like, oh,
Jedi.
Jenna.
Yeah, that was funny.
It was pretty funny.
Uh, I didn't like this episode as much as you. I think this was probably in the weaker half of the episodes, just because I feel like nothing really happened. It was great to see Asajj back. I really liked that, and it was cool to get the when Crosshair went and got the data pad and saw the Clone Wars look of Asajj. That was cool to get that
That
sort
was
of
funny. Mm,
I'd say cameo in a sense.
yeah.
But yeah, I think Asajj's presence was okay, but probably unnecessary. That's kind of all I really have to say about that. I will just say props to the animators. I feel like this was probably one of the episodes that they
Most
were
visually.
really excited for and they went all out to do. Obviously, they spend a lot of it in that cave. My favorite shot of probably the whole series is when Asajj is, wrapped up by the tentacle and she
Mm,
puts the palm
yeah.
out like
Yeah.
Hiccup to Toothless style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful shot out in the ocean, and I think that that's something
Mm-hmm.
that the whole episode was leading to. So
Yeah.
I really credit the animators
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that because it was beautiful.
100%.
But
It's funny how
besides
you
that,
do. Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned that like you go, nothing really happens. That's what you said. And I'm like, well, I feel like that's almost the whole Bad Batch, in my opinion. Just not
well, I
much
mean,
really. Like each
okay,
episode, it feels like it's just filler, just waiting to the finale. It just builds up finale every time. Like that's what their main goal is. And I feel like this one was mainly just for the characters rather than for the audience's kind of sake. Because
yeah,
they didn't
that's
know what
true.
M count was, even though we know what M count is. That's why
Yeah,
probably why you felt like it was unnecessary, I think.
correct. I
Yeah.
felt a bit unfulfilled by the end. That's
Yeah,
what I'll
fair enough.
say. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then we move into perhaps some of the best Bad Batch episodes I ever recall seeing. Episode 10, Identity
Yeah, I
Crisis,
agree.
and episode 11, Point of No Return. Let's
Mm,
start because these were kind of, it wasn't like the Infiltration Extraction double episode where it literally felt like one episode
one
combined.
episode. Mm.
This, it did feel like it was two episodes, but it was the same story across both
Hmm.
episodes. Episode 10 with Identity Crisis. This was our return to Tantus. I've been
Mm.
very off camera. I've been very critical about the fact that we've been spending way too much time with the Bad Batch. The last time we are on Tantus, I believe, was episode probably four or
Was it when they
five.
escaped?
Oh, it
Or
might have been episode three. Yeah, I'm just
yeah,
thinking
I don't know.
maybe they did something with Nala Say. Maybe there was a bit of Nala Say.
Could
I
be
can't quite
four.
remember. Anyway,
Anything would be four,
it was
friend.
early in the season, so we'd gone a good 5 or 6 episodes without going back to Tantus, which was a shame because that was peak
Mm.
Bad Batch in my opinion. So
Mm.
getting to go back to that environment, oh,
Yeah,
beautiful. And
yeah,
they did it so
agreed.
well. And I remember reading before going into these episodes that people who had seen up until the finale said that these touched on some of the darkest themes in animation before. And I definitely got the vibe from this episode. Project Necromancer was a bit different to what I was expecting. I really thought it was going to be quite gritty and
Gruesome.
gory, gruesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it kind of was just like, oh, these kids, they're just taking blood samples. It kind of
It's just
felt
the
like what
same
we'd
as
already
Clone
seen.
Wars. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Clone Wars.
So yeah, I didn't really get that dark feeling. Obviously, what we're exploring, experimentation on kids, that's whoa,
That's messed up.
that
Yeah.
is so. But we have seen that before in Star Wars. But I feel like
Hmm.
because we're in such a dark age now with the Empire reigning, and Hemlock seems like such a I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but he seems like such
Yeah.
a dark personality, and he seems really messed up.
He doesn't have any care about,
Right. Yeah.
his decisions.
Yeah. So getting to see that, I suppose, was good. And Emery is kind of becoming more of a focal point in the series.
Mm.
Not that she really interests me because I feel like she's just another Omega.
Yep.
But I mean, she obviously is compassionate and caring. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how her dynamic exists in this show. And I also will just touch on one more thing. Um, I thought that Cad Bane was probably disserviced. He, but in the first season when he was in it, I felt like that made sense. He was going after Omega alongside Fennec Shan. That made sense. He's doing
Yeah.
something similar in this episode, but he doesn't really stand out. He's there, he has a couple of lines of dialogue, he does his classic, yeah, give me the credits, and then that's it. So, and then he kind of
Interesting.
disappears. I love
Interesting point.
seeing him, but just,
Mm.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
Identity Crisis was a great episode, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you say.
Yeah. Definitely think it's my favorite probably of the season so far, 100%. I'm also a big Cad Bane lover, and this is where it's going to differ. The Cad Bane little point that you just made there, I think it isn't a disservice. I think they're trying to make him not like be a whoa, Cad Bane back again. It's meant to be more like a here's Cad Bane. He's still doing what you've known him to be doing since the Clone Wars. You know he's good at his job and he's not going to mess it up. And he's more like a quick done, get out kind of type of thing. Like he's efficient with it, and that's what makes it scary. Like, look how easy it was for him to just steal that baby literally like in two
Mm.
seconds without any pushback at all. And I think that's what his role there was for mainly. I also okay, so I agree with you on the necromancer bit. It's what I find hilarious is that does this mean, canonically speaking, that Palpatine walked into that room with the kids and was like, "Hello, kids, how are we today?" Like, what? Like,
Well, so
it
I'm a
makes it
little
so weird.
confused because in the
The
episode
chambers
three
bit.
when he first appeared, they walked through the vault, same thing, but they ended up in the test tube area.
This is where
So
I'm thinking. I think it could be an upstairs or through another door. Through that door is that room, but that would just be so silly. That means like the kids or Emery walked through the chambers already, and then the kids are after it because that would make more sense. But
yeah,
like they just cut it. But I'm like, how funny is that image in your head? Like, oh, big scary lasers. Oh, he just walked into some kids.
yeah,
Yep. Okay. All right. Sure. Whatever. I mean, I really didn't like kind of how they're doing the. This is what I mean. Like, I thought Necromancer was going to be a bit more of a unique thing that we haven't really seen before. I don't like how it's exactly the same that we've seen in Clone Wars. That's probably my biggest gripe. Like, because we've already known that they all force test babies and like they get the blood sample. It's not a new thing, and I really wanted this to be the thing to like kind of make the sequels, at least if they're going to go this way, make it make more sense and show a bit more progression and not something that we haven't seen before. It'd have been cool to see them testing on like weird alien figures or like early concepts of Snoke or just pure, just gross, not humane stuff. Like this is still not humane testing on kids, but we've already seen it kind of before, so it wasn't really a big shock to me. So that really was probably my main gripe of this episode. If that was something different, it would be 10 out of 10 for me. Perfect episode because it did what it wanted to do. It just didn't do it as for me because it was something we kind of already seen and knew about, kind of predicted, but we all wanted to predict to be something a lot, different. I think that's why I was a bit
yeah.
disappointed. But overall, it was really good to see, what I guess is behind the doors and how strict they are, and just, even the kid trying to escape and then showing that like there's no hope for them basically to leave makes it feel hopeless, and I guess sets up Omega for what's to come for after the events of the next one. So
Mhm.
good episode. Thought it was a very interesting shift considering the previous ones. I don't know. I feel like they really don't know how to set a tone in these animated shows. They just go back and forth to goofy, laughing, then sad. Like they just can't stick with one for a whole season, I think. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, once again, one of the better episodes is without the Bad Batch.
That's it. The best episodes of this season seem to have the absence of our
In
main Bad Batch
Yeah, in
heroes.
my opinion, that's almost probably most of the Bad Batch show, and that's what we'll get into, I think, after the finale and everything. I
Mm,
think that's one of my points. But yeah, well, let's move on to episode 11.
yes. So Point of No Return. This was really a follow-on to Identity Crisis, and it really, I feel like the main sort of character in this episode was the clone assassin. You could really see in Identity Crisis, Hemlock
Yeah.
is really fearful. Even
Mm.
I forgot Tarkin was in this episode, in that episode as
Hmm.
well. I forgot
Yeah.
that. But you can just see that if he doesn't follow through with it, he is stuffed. So
Mm.
he's desperate now, and I feel like the clone assassin kind of found Pabu too easily. Um, and of course it's Fee who is the cause of all of it, because
Yeah.
why not?
Mm.
Um, Overall, I really think that this was a solid episode. It was good to see the Bad Batch kind of dynamic work in such dire situation. Obviously, with the invasion of Pabu, and I mean, to be honest, not a lot happened this episode. It was really
That's
just
what,
trying to
yeah,
find Omega, and then the thing that I really didn't want to happen happened, where Omega's
yeah.
like, "Oh, they're here because of me. What if I just turn myself in and you guys can track me?" I didn't want that. I feel like it would have been more impactful
If they
if
tried to
Omega
fight.
still had that like guilt, but
Mm.
didn't propose that plan and still
Or at
got
least
captured
had them
anyway.
trying to fight it, but then them visibly show loss to maybe some Pabu citizens, and then they have no other choice, kind of thing. I
Yeah,
felt like there wasn't enough resistance.
yeah, and also it kind of took away the tone of it because they were running around trying to hide and whatever and trying to escape, but then it was kind of like almost, oh no, this is hopeful. I'm gonna go and hand myself in, and this is how we're gonna find Tantus.
Yeah.
So it kind of just seems like this was the point that they'd been waiting for in the whole series, and I feel like
Mm.
they could have handled it a bit better.
Mm.
And then we can obviously talk a bit about, well, like what we mentioned before, Crosshair's hand misses
Yeah.
the shot, and
Mm.
yeah, we end on him. We end
Yep.
on him, and you
Mm.
can tell he's wearing his helmet. You can
He's
tell
upset.
he is fuming.
Mm.
He's thinking, "Oh crap,
I messed up.
I'm I've
Yeah.
messed up." Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was good to
Um,
see.
Honestly, if that's what you have to say, that
Yeah.
is probably my favorite scene of that whole episode. This is my hot take of it. I think that is this episode is the worst of what we've reviewed today. I actually prefer even the Fennec Shand episode. I really didn't enjoy how this episode felt very stretched and long for not much happening. It was a lot of it felt long, felt lengthy compared to the other ones, but it felt like even less substance than what we're normally used to expect. I really This is the thing. I know we spend a lot of time on Pabu, but I don't care about the people that much, to be honest. It sounds mean, but in the sense of, protecting Omega and everything that they could do with Omega, there's no way you would just give her up like that for just some like I know it sounds mean, but for some random civilians, you're giving a chance for, testing on a force sensitive being, which clearly means that they are trying to get someone else resurrected or a contingency plan or something. There is no way you would give her up that easily and rely on Crosshair of all people to shoot the tracker on. It infuriates me, and it's a classic Bad Batch thing for me. Like, just things happen for the sake of happening, and I don't like it. I'm getting sick of it, Cooper. I'm getting sick of it.
So I've
Like
only got we've
this,
only got 4 episodes left.
because for the viewers listening at home, Cooper watched these 2 episodes before me, and he didn't give me any spoilers. But he goes, "I really, really love episode 10," and what he said about 11 was wow. Basically, that's all he gave me was wow. So I was like, "Ooh, back to back. I'm interested." And then after 10, I was like, "Oh, this is a banger. I can't wait for 11." And then 11 happened, and I was just like,
So the
"Bruh."
reason I said that is because the first half of 11 was really slow, and I'm like, oh God, okay. But then it just really, I know nothing happened really in the
Mm.
second half, but it just, that shot of the Venator above Pabu was
Yeah, that looked
gorgeous,
good.
and that set the tone for me.
Shots are good in Bad Batch. I'll give him that. The animation looks good in Bad Batch. The shots look good. I literally sent Cooper just the other day an edit of a Bad Batch season one from TikTok, and wow, it looks phenomenal when like people put it into a montage. I'm not gonna critique that because I think that's great. I think the biggest issue is that they really struggle with like to focus a storyline for a whole 15 episodes, which it doesn't feel dragged and it also feels like it's moving at a fine pace. I think they're really struggling with it, and I honestly forgot there was 15 episodes or something, and I thought we were up to like the finale, or like there was only 2 episodes left, and there's four, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what more filler are we gonna do just to get them into Tantus and to destroy whatever's happening, or someone escapes with it briefly, and that's why it takes so long for Palpatine to come back later because it halts their progress or something, or all the subjects run away, and then they have no other people to test on. Also, just final comment about the episode and my theory about who this what's it called assassin clone is. I don't know if this is a lot of people are mentioning it, and I don't know if this is a literally a double meaning. It sounded like Crosshair though. He
Yeah.
sounded like Crosshair, and I would be kind of angry if they just had another clone version of Crosshair. I think that'd just be another weird, like, why, like, I don't know why we need that and how that would have happened. I don't know. But it sounded like Crosshair, or they're just doing that to throw you away, and it's actually what's his name, Tech. So I don't know. We don't know. Like
Maybe.
it could. I feel like it would make more sense too if it was Tech because he knows the place too. But then he wouldn't have needed Fee unless they wiped his memory and he just kind of remembered the place. Because I'm like, he should know where their go to when they're not doing missions. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I really still could not care less about the assassin either. I really don't like him. He's just a pest. Someone please put a bullet in him, please. He's a pest.
Whoa.
I don't like him. I do not like him. He's not cool, especially from the other guy who was just like some random clone. I do not care. I do not care. I do not care.
I don't think he
So
cares.
yeah, I don't think I care.
Okay.
So I was a little bit disappointed with this one. However, I'm still optimistic. I'm a lot more optimistic in these recent episodes than the start of the season. Let's just say that. I'm
Yep.
still holding out hope for, the big return of Darth or something when they're gonna need help on Tantus or but then I feel like you can't do that. Oh, I'll get into that in later anyway. I
Yeah.
won't talk about that now. That's for another day. But
Yeah.
overall, I definitely think these are the better ones of the season and maybe even the recent season two and one even maybe potentially. So
Potentially, yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, very good.
That was our review slash reaction to the last four episodes. Next week we've got an episode called Juggernaut, and I feel like this is the start of the
Hmm.
end for our Bad Batch crew.
Yep.
They're obviously trying to find a way into Tantus. They're going to use any means necessary, and that'll lead to the finale where they will end up on
Or
Tantus.
meet
And
their
I feel
demise.
like, yeah, it's not going to end well, but we'll find out. We've got four episodes left. The next one,
Imagine
by the
survive.
time this video comes out, Juggernaut will have come out. So,
Yep.
we'll see how
Interesting.
we feel.
Yeah.
Also, just before we finish up, we did watch our Tales of the Empire trailer. We thought
Yes.
not
Yes.
doing a video was probably the way to go, and we just give our thoughts here quickly. I think it looks awesome.
Yep. Does.
Morgan, Morgan, I'm really excited to get more backstory for Morgan. I know a lot of people aren't, but I
Yeah.
don't care. I like Morgan. And then Barris, finally, we're getting some answers. So yeah, fantastic.
Yep. Same goes. Don't know why they picked Morgan for an Empire story, to be honest, in my opinion. It would have been cool to see more of a Thrawn's ascendancy. I think we might get a little bit of that.
Silver.
Good seeing Grievous in proper good animation, like we saw
Mhm.
him in season seven with that
Yeah,
flashback
like
kind of recap thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I know, really keen for it. I love the tone of it. I hope they keep to a more evil tone because that's what we're meant to do with the Empire.
Yeah.
Don't make them feel like we should be supporting them. Make us hate them, but enjoy watching what we're doing. But yes, Barriss is cool. I mean, we all kind of assumed she was going to be an Inquisitor, so that wasn't much of a surprise. We all knew she was going to show up eventually. But
Hmm.
the best shot, obviously, the trailer shot at the end with Darth walking in saying you new master, and
Yeah.
everyone's kneeling and bowing. And yeah, very cool, very cool, very
I know
excited.
this is kind of irrelevant, but also I will just make the comment. I feel like the announcement, because this was meant to be the Tales of the Jedi. This is the announcement
Season
of the
two.
Tales of the Jedi season two. It's Tales of the Empire. So I feel like that they've announced all of it's coming out on May 4th.
Yep,
That confirms to me that we are getting Andor season two in November or December this year. Skeleton
100%
Crew will be
in the middle.
July or oh no, Acolyte's June. Skeleton Crew will
No,
be August,
August, September,
September, and
and
Andor
then
will start November, December.
yeah, and it'll go
I'm
probably
positive about
could be
that.
even December into Jan maybe,
Yeah, because I was
like
I was
bit
thinking,
like
where
what
on
Boba
earth?
Fett did.
I was thinking, where on earth is like, is Skeleton Crew going to come out late in the year and Andor is going to be 2025? No, no. All of them are coming out on May the 4th, so Andor's slotting in
Yeah,
on that end spot. Anyway, that's just another piece of
yep,
information.
yeah, so
That'll do
good.
us for this week. Thanks for watching. Again, go follow us on social media, hit subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, and we'll see you next week for the podcast for a Obi-Wan Kenobi reimagining. Very
Catches.
exciting. All right, see ya.